from the Singapore Global Network, and I'll be your MC for today's company deep dive with IMDA and Robert Walters. For those of you who are not familiar, the Singapore Global Network, or SGN in short, is a Singapore government agency tasked to build a community of Singaporeans and friends of Singapore all over the world. As long as you have a strong affinity to Singapore, whether by birth or because your family and friends are based here, we would love to engage with you and connect you with the SGN community around you to facilitate the flow of ideas, innovation, and entrepreneurship. If you have not already done so, please sign up with SGN via the link in the chat group. Now, for today's session, I'd like to introduce to you two of SGN's valued partners. We have with us Adrian, who is the director for IMDA, and Monty, who is the country manager for Robert Walters Singapore. First up, we have Adrian, who will be sharing with us more about the Tech Skills Accelerator, or TeSA for short. Please note that for today's session, except for the Q&A segment, it will be recorded. Adrian, over to you, please.
Sure. Thank you very much, David. A very good morning to all of you in Singapore, and good evening to those in America, and good afternoon to those in Australia. Today, we're going to talk about tech jobs in Singapore. But before we do that, I just also like to introduce my co-presenter, Monty. He's the country manager of Robert Walters, and he'll talk about how he can help you relocate to Singapore for all the amazing tech jobs we have here in Singapore. And I'll start with talking about the Southeast Asia ecosystem on that next slide. Just give me a second on the slide. Right. So I've heard amazing panelists over the last few days talking about the growth of Asia and Southeast Asia, and they've shared a lot of those lessons. So I'll just pair up with a little bit of more information about our tech ecosystem over here. You see a lot of stats here on this slide. We started off as an MNC hub in the very old days, maybe 3 decades ago, and it was mainly a business hub, and we have great jobs for sales and marketing. But in a decade after that, besides the business functions, we start to see a lot of technical functions that the companies built here in Singapore to support their business. What's changing today in this decade is that, as you can see from the example of Google Pay, they started to do product engineering functions in Singapore and develop products for the region as well as for the world. And that is what is growing here in Southeast Asia, not just from the MNCs, but also from the startups. We have about over 4,000 startups here in Singapore, some from the region, and they really do their data science and innovation function teams in Singapore because of a higher talent base. But also generally, Singapore is a destination of choice for businesses, whether you talk about IP protection, whether you talk about stability, certainty for businesses, and connectivity. That is one of many reasons why MNCs anchored their HQ here in Singapore. In fact, over 50% of them do that for the Asia-Pac business. And we are still ranked quite well as an ecosystem in Southeast Asia. So, and now I'm going to zoom a little bit on the tech ecosystem in Singapore itself on the next slide. In Singapore, just to give you a sense, we have about near to 370,000 registered companies in Singapore. 15,000 of that are in the tech sector. That means they are really a tech company business, and is really a melting pot of companies from East and West. You have small startups, you have fast growth, mid-sized companies, you have companies from China, India, Europe, US, all coming to business here in this region. And our Infocom workforce, our tech workforce, is roughly about 5.4% of the total workforce in Singapore, about 200,000 of them. 50% of them work in this 15,000 tech firms that you see here. But another 50% actually work in various sectors like banks, logistics. In fact, the two biggest hiring sectors in Singapore is business and financial services. So this is the state of affairs in Singapore in terms of our tech manpower. There's really a rich ecosystem opportunities for everybody here, whether you like to work in a startup, a mid-sized, fast-growing company, or MNC for regional roles, or work in a fast-expanding Chinese company that's coming down to do business in Southeast Asia. Lots of opportunities. If it doesn't work out with one, you can always go to the another. So talking about companies, let me now move to the next slide and show you some of the examples of what they do in Singapore to develop talent. So it's not just about recruiting talent. There's a lot of investment into talent, skills upgrading in assisting professionals. So as a as a indication of how much the government spent in developing talent. If you look in the past years, roughly we spent about over 1 billion Singapore dollars into upgrading professionals in tech and all skills. And Tech Skills Accelerator is one of those programs where we spend roughly about 0.5 billion so far in putting people into tech jobs and upgrading their skills. These are some of our partners. You see here DBS, one of the World Best Bank, or some will say it's a technology company, training people in cloud cybersecurity software development. We also work with leading companies from the States like Facebook. We partner them with our institutes of higher learning like the National Technological University. And what they do with them is they build new courses to train ahead of demand. So they have a certain need for a certain set of infrastructural skills in about 3 years' time. We partner them with the universities to build those talent ahead of time. We also have companies from India like TeSA, where we put Singaporeans into the tech jobs in IT services. Recently with Google, we announced a new jobs and skills package for about 3,000 locals in digital marketing, in cloud computing, and in software development. We also invest in 5G. As you know, the infrastructure rollout is underway. And so what we are moving now is the next phase of investment, which is into manpower. So we work a lot with the telcos to do that. And Tech Skills Accelerator is that program and initiative that provide all these support programs to our companies for them to recruit and train tech talent, for them to also do skills development in their existing employees, and mainly in these 3 job roles. If you are less techy, you're in business, just now we heard the panel talk about it is equally important to not just have the hard technical skills, but also the business skills, the creative skills. So in those tech-like job roles, whether in digital marketing, business analysts, or product managers, etc., in these 3 categories of job roles is where we focus on our efforts with the companies to develop and recruit talent. And now let me talk about next 2 slides where you can get closer to these opportunities. This is the QR code. If you may just snap out your phone, you can get a hyperlink. I think we'll type it out in the chat and the Q&A box as well for you to get access to these links, and we'll put it on the Slack channel. But if you're really looking for a job here in Singapore, our partner is JobWhiz for this Singapore Tech Forum. You'll see a whole list of companies. Some of them are our partners, meaning that they also have training programs in place to put you into that tech job, fitting your skills in a 100% customized manner for that company. That's the kind of support we provide to companies. So I'll just pause it for maybe 1 or 2 seconds where you do snap on the QR link for job opportunities. Okay, if we move on to the next slide. So beyond this Tech Forum event, actually we do maintain a live database of all the job opportunities and training opportunities with our companies here in Singapore. This is a QR code. It's from Live Hire database. Whatever we put there actually get pushed to all the job boards across the world. So you might see similar job ads in your job boards in your home country. But this is a kind of a curated portal where you get these jobs, whether in data scientists that you see here, or product marketing, or product development, or cybersecurity. You'll get a range of jobs from small, mid to large size companies here. And if anything fails, you can always contact us at go to our portal on the next slide, go.gov.sg/TeSA. You'll find more information about programs as well as the job opportunities. And now what I'll do is I'll pass over to Monty. He'll talk a lot more on relocation back to Singapore and what it means.
Great, thank you so much. Thanks, Adrian. Fascinating initiative there with what TeSA is doing. So hello, everyone. Really honored to be here today to share more about the tech market, as well as a program we run called Balik Kampung. Now, I'm actually going to be mirroring a few things that Adrian has just mentioned and some trending topics that you would have seen being discussed over the Tech Forum over the last couple of days. Quick introduction. So my name is Monty, and I head up Robert Walters here in Singapore. Now, for those of you who don't know Robert Walters, we're a publicly listed specialist recruitment agency, and we place candidates across companies of all sizes within our specializations, technology being a big one for us. For me, I have a little bit of a story. So I myself am a tech graduate. I finished my national service, got on a plane, went off to Canberra and did my degree in technology, and magically ended up doing tech recruitment. Now, after spending around about, say, 14 years in 3 different countries, it was Australia, and I spent 8 years in China, a couple of years in the Philippines, I'm now back home. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to touch on the tech industry here in Singapore, as well as what we've seen in the market over the last 12 months. I'm going to start off with the growth sectors here in Singapore. So what we've seen, technology vendors, software development houses, and system integrators have had growth hiring, especially now where companies are accelerating their digital transformation agenda and their journeys. For example, having infrastructure set up to support work from home, which is the new norm. Healthcare, as you can imagine, big growth industry for obvious reasons. I mean, according to a McKinsey report, institutional investors have pumped more than a staggering $80 billion into health tech in the last 5 years. And that the impact of digital technology and artificial intelligence and machine learning will drive change. So very cool stuff around healthcare trackers, wearable devices, all the future of health tech. We've got logistics and e-commerce go hand in hand together. As you can imagine, everyone's shopping online, myself included. So the growth of e-commerce sales has driven logistics, and e-commerce is actually the fastest growing third-party logistics market segment, where retailers are relying upon the likes of Amazon, for example, and third-party logistics providers to help manage omni-channel and e-commerce supply chain operations. When it comes to roles in demand, no surprises there. Data science, AI, ML, you've got UI and UX design, which includes research. Cybersecurity, again, a big focus here has been highlighted even during PM Lee's opening speech, where a lot of questions came in about emphasizing the need to beef up the country's cybersecurity stance, as well as engineers, front, back end, and full stack. Going to move on to numbers, salaries. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, fresh out of the oven. These numbers have not been officially published yet. It's part of our salary survey data, which will be officially published over the next few weeks. But we thought for the Tech Forum, we're going to showcase this to everyone. Now, this is compiled from our placement history, as well as what companies are paying based on the jobs that they open to us. So every year, like as I said, we publish this data. Now, you will see salaries across both our permanent and contracting businesses. Annual salaries are based across 12 months, and you're probably sitting there looking at the range, and just wanted to clarify, now the range depends on the industry, the years of experience, as well as the job scope requirements. Now, traditionally, financial services do pay more than commerce and startups, but you've got the exception of tech unicorns and some very niche roles. I want to shift your focus now to contracts. Now, contracting business this year for us, we've actually seen about a 27% growth as we're seeing companies shift more to hiring based on project basis. There was a stigma where tech talent were not open to doing contracting. However, we're really seeing that mindset shift now where tech talent candidates are open to doing project-based hire because they get exposed to doing more projects, to get exposed to new tech stacks, for example. Now, cybersecurity. In an article published recently in the Straits Times, Cisco shared that businesses in Singapore have seen a significant increase in cybersecurity challenges as more people work from home. Now, with emerging technology, if you notice, we don't have any data for contracts. It's all mostly permanent because we've typically made placements only in permanent roles. And that is the reason being that the skill sets in emerging technology are in such high demand. There's just not enough supply. So therefore, companies want to secure talent on a permanent basis. And again, further to PM Lee's opening, he shared that there was a need for tech talent in Singapore and that this is the best time to come back. Which takes me to the program we run at Robert Walters. And this aims to look for Singaporean talent outside of Singapore to come back and plug this talent gap. And this is where we present opportunities, Singaporeans, to come back home. And this program is called Balik Kampung. Now, this campaign, run by our one and only Ivy, who you will all get a chance to meet later during the Q&A, it's been running for 6 years now. Now, Ivy spends all her time, and I mean all her time, reaching out to Singaporeans overseas, guiding them through the market, and taking them through the process of moving back. Now, moving can be stressful. I know how it was, and I'm sure a lot of you who've moved know how stressful it could be, even if you're moving back home. It always helps to be able to talk to someone who can work with you through this process. You know, we still see Singaporeans finding it attractive to go overseas to study and to eventually work, but just many times they don't know what opportunities are available for them back home. So why are Singaporeans coming back home? The main reason here, aging parents and family is still the leading reason. Case in example, myself. After spending so many years away, I wanted to come home because mom's getting older and I wanted to be close to her. Children's education is also important. We've got health and safety. I think we all can quite safely say Singapore is known to be very safe. You can walk around anywhere, anytime, feeling safe and secure, as well as visa renewal issues. Now, this can spark from a variety of reasons, but we've seen that this is some of the reasons why Singaporeans come home. What are some of the considerations when Singaporeans come home? Now, it's not going to come as a shock, but according to the Economist 2020 Cost of Living Index, Singapore is the most expensive city in the world. But let's look at some main consideration points when Singaporeans choose to come home. Education, fair to say Singapore's education system is pretty good because there's a variety of education paths that's offered here. But from a cost perspective, international schools in Singapore can be quite expensive, where fees run between 30 to 45,000 per child per year. But US colleges cost considerably more compared to Singapore. Got housing. Again, Singapore is also quite expensive. We've got medical insurance. Now, medical insurance in the US, everyone tries to have private and public insurance. Mostly companies offer private insurance. Public healthcare system in the UK is pretty good. Everyone uses that, where companies we typically don't see provide private insurance. And Singapore's in between. Got good public healthcare, but most people get their own private insurance, and companies also provide private insurance. Now, when it comes to lifestyle, again, Singapore can be an expensive place to live, but actually, there are ways to live economically in Singapore and still be comfortable. And last but not least, transportation. Now, in transportation, it's expensive to buy a car. However, with an efficient a public transport system, as well as the ease of ride-hailing firms, still easy to get out and about without a car. So granted, the cost of housing, be it renting or buying private property, is definitely among the highest in the world. However, the lower cost of food, groceries, transport, minus buying a car, utilities and income tax, kind of help balances things out. Now, when is the right time to move back? Oh, actually, when is the right time to start thinking about moving back? Always. There is never a wrong time when you're considering a move back. It may not even be something immediate. It takes time. It takes time to move back. Typical process takes about 6 to 12 months. Now, I'm not going to go through all the points over here, but again, it's important to know that it does not hurt to even start thinking about moving back. So I'm going to take you guys through a couple of case studies of Singaporeans who were considering coming back, started the move, and eventually moved home through the Balik Kampung program. So the first case study was a placement from the US where we made was a software development engineer who was working in the US. The challenge was the family was back in Singapore. So this person wanted to move back to Singapore, again, wanted to be back close to the family. And so this person worked with Ivy and our tech team here, and we were able to secure him a role with a 13% increment post-tax. This was all in about a 2-month process, which is relatively quick. But the thing is, companies here want to secure talent. So you can expect competitive offers and aggressive timelines. The second case study I'm going to showcase before we wrap up is a Singaporean who was based in the UK. The reason he was wanting to come back, kids' education, specifically primary school. So Ivy began conversations with this person, and after also about 2 months, we saw this person move from a solutions architect from a multinational company into a principal cloud architect role for a leading financial services institution with a staggering post-tax increment of 30%. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope from these case studies and from the last few days of the Tech Forum, it excites you, it excites Singaporeans overseas to want to come back home. So if you want to know more about how to do this, speak to us, give us a call, reach out to either myself or to Ivy. And, you know, we're more than happy to try and give everybody a clear understanding of how we can do this.